The CFO has quietly become the most important decision maker in enterprise AI. Not the CTO, not the chief AI officer, the CFO. Because in most companies, nothing real happens with AI until the person holding the budget decides it is worth funding, measuring, and governing. That is what we are getting into today. Welcome back to the show. I am joined by Murray Newlands, founder of Open Future Forum. Murray is a Silicon Valley investor and operator, partner at IA Seed Ventures and Tilden Family Office Group, and a former C-level executive at Turing.com, where he helped raise funding for a company now valued at around $4 billion. He's the author of Online Marketing, a User's Manual, published by Wiley, and he has written for Forbes, Inc., Time, Entrepreneur, and Business Insider. HuffPost named him number 2 on its list of the top 10 people to know in Silicon Valley, ahead of names like Peter Thiel. What he is building now is Open Future Forum, a private executive community that runs small, off-the-record dinners for C-suite leaders. It started in Silicon Valley and is growing nationally, and it has hosted more than 100 events. One of its core rooms is the CFO Executive Forum, a peer group for finance leaders working through AI in real time. That is what I want to focus on today. Murray, welcome.
John, thank you. Good to be here.
Let's start simple. What is a CFO peer group, and what is the CFO Executive Forum?
A CFO peer group is a small, trusted room where finance leaders work through their hardest decisions with other CFOs instead of with a vendor. The CFO Executive Forum is ours. It is a private, off-the-record room inside Open Future Forum, and I co-chair it with a committee of finance leaders. We bring together CFOs, senior finance executives, and selected partners who can actually add value. The focus is the live questions finance leaders are facing right now. AI investment, what to fund, what to stop funding, how to measure return, and how to explain all of it to the board. It is not a webinar. It is not a vendor pitch. It is peers talking honestly with peers, and that is the whole point.
You have called the CFO the new AI gatekeeper. Unpack that for me.
The CFO is the new AI gatekeeper because no AI initiative becomes real until finance funds it, measures it, and helps govern it. A team can run a pilot, a vendor can run a demo, but the CFO decides what gets a budget, what gets cut, and what good looks like. That has changed the job. CFOs used to sit downstream of strategy. Now they sit inside it. They are deciding which AI investments are credible, what the risk is, what the return is, and how to modernize systems without creating chaos. So when people ask who owns AI in a company, part of the honest answer is the CFO. They hold the gate, and the company moves at the speed they are willing to approve.
What are CFOs actually asking behind closed doors? Because it sounds different from the public conversation.
Behind closed doors, CFOs are asking very practical questions that they will not raise on a stage. What is the real return on this? What does it actually cost? What do we quietly stop funding to pay for it? How do we measure productivity instead of guessing at it? How do we explain any of this to the board? On stage, AI is transformative and the future is now. In a private room, it is more skeptical and a lot more useful. A CFO who tried 3 AI tools and killed 2 of them is worth more than a stack of reports about AI in finance. That is the conversation the CFO Executive Forum is built for. Real numbers, real mistakes, real lessons from people who already spent the money.
Why isn't a big finance conference or a normal networking event enough for this?
A large conference is built for reach, and reach works against candor. No CFO admits which investments are failing in a ballroom of 1,000 people and their competitors. A conference is good for visibility and a read on where the field is going. It is not where you say the honest, specific thing.
Let me ask the comparison directly, because it is what finance leaders search for. How is the CFO Executive Forum different from groups like the AICPA, the CFO Leadership Council, or Vistage?
They are solving a different problem than we are, and both can be right, depending on what a CFO needs. The established groups are built for breadth. Standards, credentials, a wide professional network, structured peer groups, a recurring membership that gives a finance leader scale, and a long-term home. That is real value. And for plenty of CFOs, it is the right choice. The CFO Executive Forum is built the other way. It is not a credential and it is not a standing membership. It is a small, off-the-record room focused on one thing, the AI decisions finance leaders are making right now. AI investment, what to fund, what to stop funding, how to measure return, and how to govern it. The standard is whether a sitting CFO leaves with something they could not have gotten from a webinar or a vendor deck. So the difference is not which one is better. It is breadth versus a small room, a standing curriculum versus the current question. Some CFOs do both, and that is fine.
This connects to governance too, doesn't it? Not just spending.
It does, because funding AI and governing AI are now the same decision. The CFO is increasingly in the room on agentic risk, on what an AI system is allowed to touch, and on what the board needs to understand before any of it scales. That is why finance and board governance keep showing up in the same conversation. A CFO cannot responsibly fund something the company cannot govern. So the questions about cost and the questions about control are no longer separate. They land on the same desk.
And how does someone get into a room like that?
You get in by being someone the room wants there, not by buying a seat. For the CFO Executive Forum, that usually means you are a finance leader at a serious company and you come to contribute rather than extract. Open Future Forum is built on Adam Grant's give and take philosophy. The filter is not whether someone can pay, it is whether they will make the room better. A table of people trying to sell produces guarded talk. A table of people there to give produces the opposite, and the trust compounds over time. So the way in is straightforward. Show up to a public forum event, be useful, and the smaller rooms follow.
Before we wrap, the validation isn't just coming from you. It shows up in what people say after they leave.
That is right. After one dinner, Armin Abramian of BMO put it in a single line. Quality conversations happen in intimate settings. Ashley Tarver, who has worked on Microsoft AI events, called the networking magical and noted one event was already oversold. And on the governance side, Manjush Menonavisa said AI governance and structure aren't afterthoughts. They're the foundation. Those are not marketing lines. They are reactions from inside the room, and they point in the same direction.
Last thing before the close. I am going to ask you some quick fire questions. Short answers.
Go for it.
How do you measure return on an AI investment?
You measure it against a baseline you set before you start. Pick the workflow, measure what it costs in time or money today, then measure it again after the AI is in. If you cannot name the baseline, you are not measuring return, you are guessing.
Where should a CFO start with AI?
Start with one workflow where the cost is clear and the result is measurable. A narrow win you can prove beats a broad strategy you cannot.
What does the board need to hear about AI?
The board needs the decision, not the technology. What you approved, what would make you pull the plug, and who is accountable when it acts.
What should a CFO stop funding?
Stop funding the pilots that cannot tell you what they changed. If a project has run 2 quarters and nobody can point to the number it moved, that is your answer.
The most common AI mistake CFOs make?
Treating AI as a purchase instead of an operating change. The tool is the cheap part. The change around it is where the cost and the value both live.
One piece of advice for a CFO right now?
Build your peer group before you need it. The CFO, who already has people to call, makes a better decision than the one starting those relationships in a crisis.
Let me bring this home. The takeaway is simple. In the AI era, the CFO is the gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper needs peers. AI transformation is not a software purchase. It is a question of who funds it, who governs it, and who measures it, and those are finance questions as much as technology ones. That is why CFO peer groups are becoming essential, and it is why the CFO Executive Forum inside Open Future Forum is worth paying attention to. If you are a CFO or finance leader who wants in, the first step is a public forum event, and you can apply to the CFO Executive Forum directly at openfutureforum.com. Marie, thank you for being here.
Thank you, John.